How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Home Repairs, and today we're going to continue on digging deep into different electrical components that you might use around your house. Now, this one's kind of the extreme case. It follows in a progression that we've been going through. We started off with a video where we looked at residential grade. So this is made by Leviton, 50 cents, residential grade, kind of low as you possibly can go. Stepped it up to a spec grade or commercial grade, also made by Leviton, $2. I'm quite fond of actually this level and that receptacle. Then we went up to what I actually called in the video hospital grade. It was not hospital grade. Thank you for the commenters that pointed out. Orange indicates isolated ground. Also, the green triangle indicates isolated ground. So this is a high-end commercial grade and, more importantly, an isolated ground. Shares a lot of the same internals and components of a hospital grade, specifically for this Leviton brand, but it is not technically hospital grade because you'd see a little green dot right there if it was. This is $6. This was much beefier. And if you want to see any of these videos in the past, you can check this link right here, which is a playlist of all the different videos that I have out there on electrical components. But now we're going to the top, or at least close to the top. And that is diving into this guy. This is a $50 specialty receptacle made for a very specific user or use case, and that is going after the audiophile market. What in the heck is an audiophile, if you haven't ever heard of that, which I've only heard of it a few times, and I'm by no means an expert. So let's go to the source of truth on the interwebs, and that is Wikipedia. So I'll read it off to you. An audiophile is a person who is enthusiastic about high-fidelity sound reproduction. An audiophile seeks to reproduce the sound of live musical performance, typically in a room with good acoustics. It is widely agreed that reaching this goal is very difficult and that even the best regarded recording and playback systems rarely, if ever, achieve it. So there you have it. So this is kind of the starting point for a audio setup in your home that would try to reproduce a live musical performance as closely as possible. As you can guess, this quest for, as it said, something that probably is pretty hard to get to, can get pretty expensive. Thus the $50 price point. So let's dive in and see what really internally differentiates this receptacle from even the isolated ground that I showed you from Leviton, which is only $6 compared to $50. So let's take the PowerPort Classic, which is what this guy's called, from PS Audio, and combine it with our trusty sidekick, the Dremel, and open it up, see what's inside. So overall, it was not too hard to open up without damaging any of the internals. Now, after looking at it for a few minutes, I can say this is the highest quality, and it should be for 50 bucks, receptacle that I've opened up. And that's from the housing itself, to the contacts, to the plates for the back wire. So if you wire through the back, the plates that will actually secure the wire and make your connection. But one thing to note, which is not uncommon in many industries, right? Obviously, this company, PS Audio, doesn't make this receptacle. It's made by Hubble. So Hubble is the most common brand that's called out in my videos as what people recommend in terms of high quality components. After looking around a little bit at the different models, this is equivalent, from what I can tell, to a Hubble IG8300. So if you want to look that up, you can take a look for yourself, but I think it is the IG8300. Looks exactly the same, and the IG8300 is an extra heavy duty, isolated ground, hospital grade receptacle. I found that online for as low as $26, and remember, this is a $50 receptacle from PS Audio. You can get them on Amazon. You can check the description. I'll get links to both the Hubble and the PowerPort Classic here. And then the difference between this PowerPort Classic and the IG8300, to the best of my knowledge, is only the coating. So the 15 coats of nickel plating, that's it. Everything else is the same. Everything else is basically IG8300 off the shelf, but then you have the coating that's put on for this PowerPort Classic. So if we compare it to a lesser cost, $6 commercial grade Leviton isolated ground receptacle, things that I think would be important to an audiophile looking for a receptacle to start off their audio setup would be grip strength of the plug. Now both of these, if we use a 3-prong plug and we just do tests without actually have a tension tester, both of these are new and they hold a 3-prong plug, I mean, pretty similarly. So the marketing material on this says grip of Mickey Mantle. And yes, it grips the plug well, but I wouldn't say any better than the $6 Leviton. Isolated ground is going to come with both of these. Now, one thing to note, remember, there is a very specific way that you need to wire an isolated ground receptacle. So you're going to need to either reference schematics and material to do it yourself, or get a professional that can help you out with getting it correctly wired. And then in terms of materials, which could affect how conductive these contacts are, this is copper. Now, this is supposed to be high purity on the PowerPort Classic with the nickel plating. Nickel plating is going to give you corrosion and wear resistance. So if these are both copper, let's say this is also a high purity, that is a bit of a swag, I would say they're going to be pretty similar. What do you think? What do you guys think in the comments? Would you ever buy something that's $50? Have you ever bought something like this? Do you have an audio setup? Are you an audiophile? I'm interested. What am I missing out on? Because overall, I'm not completely sold on the PowerPort Classic. So those are the internals and what's inside the PS Audio PowerPort Classic. Remember, overall, I think it's pretty much a Hubble IG8300 with 15 coats of nickel plating on the yoke and the contacts internal. That's what I'm seeing and understand, but I'm interested to hear from you guys too, so do leave me a comment. Would you buy something like this? I would not. I'm not an audiophile, so I probably don't have the same value in terms of the quest for the live musical environment in my house, but it seems a bit excessive. And I would say probably the most important thing is a high quality receptacle that holds the plug well, has the correct materials, maybe a high purity or a copper for the contacts, and then probably most importantly, an isolated ground. If that's the case, $6, Leviton, that's probably going to do it for you, and making sure that it is wired and installed correctly, which you might need a professional for. Let me know what you think, yay or nay. $50, is it worth it? Is it crazy? Or should you go with the Hubble? Or should you go with another alternative? I'm interested to get your feedback, but before you take off, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We have videos like this, but also just videos for your normal repairs and improvements around the house. And we have new ones coming out weekly, so we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.